Stop recording.
Good afternoon, everyone! Happy Monday, guys! Today it's June 1st, 2026. And today, guys, it is the first day of June. Welcome, everyone, to our afternoon reflection. So I just finished my last day of orientation and mobility with Dorothy. It was a pretty good experience, guys. I walked around the block of my house, and I also did a good job going from my house to the deli, and I think I'm ready to go by myself. Because, remember when I told you guys yesterday, I don't like to spend the entire day indoors just doing nothing and just stuck in a loop of boredom and stuff. Like, I want to go outside at least for like 5 minutes to get some like fresh air. To get some fresh air. So whenever I feel like that, I can always go outside alone without having to interfere with others and get some fresh air. At least go outside for a little bit, like, get some sunlight, just walk around, experience nature for a while, instead of just being indoors and missing out on the simple beauty of nature. Yeah. Because, nature has psychological benefits. It helps boost alertness. It helps you connect more to the earth. And as a result, people who are connected to the earth indirectly make better choices, like cleaning our planet or making projects that can shape the environment in good ways. Yeah. So, yeah, it's really not good to be indoors all day, guys, because it's it's your mind, our body needs at least a little bit of nature. Yeah, because being indoors, one of the reasons why it can feel like too boring is because usually indoor environments like a house or a school is very predictable. Very predictable senses. Like things don't change much. But nature has a lot of variety. Now, a sighted person might see leaves or clouds passing in the sky. A blind person like me can rely on his or her own senses, like touch, smell, and tactile details. So, just the feeling of the branch or the sound of birds singing or the sound of cars passing on a city street, like Grand Central or any street in New York, or yeah. So yeah, so instead of just being indoors all day on Sundays and having to deal with constant constant demotivation, I can always have the opportunity to just go outside, go to the deli, maybe buy something, get some snacks, or get some sunlight. Small things. Doesn't have to be anything huge. It can just be a simple moment like going to the deli. And that's it. Yeah. So, I am becoming more independent step by step. I don't have to be independent in one night. It's with practice and small wins is how real growth happens. There is a common misconception that growth happens from pushing yourself over your limits and doing the opposite of doing small things. But that can cause more stress instead of growth and more doubt. So growth really happens from doing small things and getting small wins. Yeah. So yeah, guys, and I'm excited that today is June 1st. Today is the first day of a new month. First day of June. And just a few more weeks left and I'll have my Regents exam. And I'm kind of excited and a little bit doubtful about it. Because, there's a common misconception that you will pass the Regents just because somebody told you that you're going to pass. But the reality is there's no guarantee whether you're going to pass the Regents or not. The goal is to pass. The goal is to get a certain amount of points, but you don't have to get like all of it. A certain amount of points to pass the Regents. Now, people have been putting me in a lot of pressure right now to study at least 20 minutes for the exam. Yeah, and I don't really want to like sacrifice just to study. I want to have time to relax, to maybe watch YouTube and stuff like that. So, but I guess I gotta study, guys, because if I want to pass the Regents, I gotta study as best as I can. I have to study as best as I can. Yeah, because my teacher has been telling me, like my global teacher has been telling me, quote unquote, next week you're going to practice for 40 minutes, and then the following week you're going to practice for an hour. Like, I understand your point. Like, I understand why you want me to, like, the fact that you want me to study it for the Regents. But 1 hour can feel a bit too much and exhausting, especially if you get too much information at once. So, if that's the case, I will have to maybe prioritize breaks. Maybe taking breaks in between study sessions. Divide those 1 hour into like multiple sessions of studying instead of just one big session. Taking breaks between sessions, maybe like 5 minutes, like maybe to go drink water or maybe eat a snack and then going back to what you're doing. As one session can feel exhausting. One big session can feel exhausting. And dividing these can sort of help you stay focused without mental fatigue associated with studying for an hour straight. For some people, 1 hour can feel just fine, but for me, no, not really. Especially guys reading Braille books. I read fully Braille. I don't read any print. Especially reading Braille books with words that are complex and hard to interpret. Even just 20 minutes of reading, I start falling asleep. my brain just starts losing where I am. I start to become tired. And then that's when my body signals are really important to avoid mental fatigue. So the tiredness and falling asleep is a sign that I probably need to stop. And as a result of that, I almost don't read at all. I don't read any Braille books at all. Because I find it easier when I read audiobooks instead of Braille books. The only time I read Braille is when it comes to like solving math problems or reading signs like on an elevator or anything else. But overall I can read Braille when it comes to like reading signs and stuff. But I cannot like um I cannot grasp words, like grasp long books that are fully Braille, and like I cannot make a conclusion out of it. So then if people ask me what went on in the book, then I'm like, I don't remember. The only thing I just heard is blah blah blah, and that's it. Instead of giving full conclusions about the book. Because in contrast, when I hear audiobooks, it's the opposite. And if it's an audiobook that I love or that I find interesting, then if people ask me what happened in the book or explain to me what happened, then I can draw better conclusions compared to trying to grasp, I don't know, hundreds of words in Braille. Yeah, because I read Braille very slow, like this. For example, in a normal audiobook, you're just reading like, for example, Willie went to the store at 2 a.m. and bought a Willie went to the store at 2 a.m. and bought a sandwich. Now, how I read it, let's say there's a Braille book that somehow says the same thing. I read like this. Willie woke up at 2 a.m. to get a sandwich. Yeah. So it's kind of slower than a normal speech. And that's why at school, I use my iPad. I use dictation. Because I feel like I feel better expressing myself. Like I feel like I can express myself easily when I use dictation. When I'm using Braille though, it's hard to express myself because then I'm not focused on expressing myself, but I'm focused more on like spelling the words and trying to sound it out and just focusing on the spelling instead of expressing myself. You know what I'm saying, guys? So I know it might sound like I'm not trying harder, but yeah. When I'm trying to express myself, it's hard to do it with Braille because I'm mainly focused on trying to spell the words. And it could be frustrating, especially words like confront or words that you normally use when you're talking in normal conversations. Some of the words for me are hard to spell in Braille and on a keyboard when I'm typing on a keyboard, on a Bluetooth keyboard. Yeah. So that's why I use dictation. Not just to express myself, but to complete my assignments or my projects faster. Because then if I use a keyboard, and if I'm focused too much on the spelling instead of like moving on, then people go ahead of me. And then I don't know what the next, I don't, then I don't keep track. Yeah. But people claim, quote unquote, it is good to type with a keyboard because if you're in a job, they don't want to hear your dictation because it's your business. Yeah. I don't know if this is a claim or if this is true, but people claim this. Some people don't mind when I'm dictating. So the best thing to do is dictating. I don't care about what people claim. I don't care. I just don't want to. But there might be a point in the future where I might have to do it. I might have to figure out a way to make it easier for me when it comes to doing stuff like that. Yeah. So guys, we start the month of June with some pretty chilly temperatures in New York City. Um, Today's high only reached 68 degrees. And I remember, I actually learned that on June 1st, 2020, we also had temperatures in the upper 60s during the day. It was a high of like 70 degrees that day. And I don't remember what was the low, but tonight's low is going to be 50. Which I'm not surprised because the same thing happened on June 4th, 2023, and also June 2nd of last year. Temperatures reached the low 50s during the morning of June 2nd. Now this year is going to be the same. And also, guys, June 1st of last year also had a high of, it was in the mid 60s that day. A high of around like 66 degrees. Either 66 or the two numbers 6 and 7. And a low of 51, I think, approximately. 52. Yeah, quite the same, guys.
Sunset sounds gonna Ed Sheeran dash eyes closed vertical line
and
lyrics.
From here, guys, I can smell barbecue from outside. I can smell it a little bit, faintly. I don't know who might be doing barbecue, guys, but I have been smelling it for quite a while. It might be a barbecue, it might be a fire, who knows? But it's interesting. I remember many Junes, sometimes I would smell that. I remember smelling a faint barbecue smell last June 1st too, and it was also the Puerto Rican Day Parade. But this year is going to be on June 7th, so you're probably going to hear a lot of noise in New York City, a lot of clapping and music. I don't really know what the Puerto Rican Day Parade is all about. I think it's Puerto Rican Independence Day, from what I probably understand. Because if it says Puerto Rican Day or Ecuadorian Day or whatever, it probably means their Independence Day. So, yeah. And I also really don't show much interest in that. You know. Alright, guys. I'm going to end my reflection right there, guys. I recommend you guys to subscribe, turning on the notifications, and putting a comment below saying BLD. And one more thing, guys. I heard more about Ella Langley, guys. So there was a song by her that I heard yesterday called "Choose Texas." Yeah, I like that song. I like "Choose Texas." I still quite don't remember how it goes, but I'll hear it more. All right, guys. So I'll see you guys tomorrow for our afternoon reflection.
Pause.
Goodbye.
Stop recording.